The month of October is dedicated for celebrating sharks, shark facts, shark stories, etc. So let's get right to the shiver of panelists. A shiver is apparently what you call a group of sharks.
Sharktober is actually more of a phenomenon, and so basically it got its name because of the fact that great white sharks come to the California area regularly around this time. In San Francisco specifically, there's been a lot of events in the month of October to kind of get awareness out about sharks. Sharks of the World, a new one just came out, super stoked on that.
So we were trying to develop a system where we could come in and enable scientists in different communities with funding and an asset to close these knowledge gaps. The reason when I started this project, I took out one scientist and we did one project. And while we were doing this, it took us 17 minutes to put on the first tag. And I was standing there and I was like, wow, we need a lot more smart people here. More men and women from different disciplines to take advantage of this opportunity. We learned back in 2007 that if we could give scientists access to the animals, we could leverage new technology to fill in these knowledge gaps. And then from that point, we learned that we could go around the world and enable different communities and really get into inclusion. And then I started to see the more we gave everything away, the more included the public felt. And now we're giving away educational curriculums for free. And while the kids track the sharks, they're learning their math and their sciences. You know, it's way cooler, you know, how fast did Mary Lee swim from Jacksonville to Charleston than Bob got on a train in Philly and Bob got off in Jersey. How fast did the train go?
Shark Week is a big cultural event put on by the Discovery Channel where they have an entire week of programming dedicated to, you know, the ocean's deadliest predators.
As many shark scientists and conservationists know, the more you hear about Shark Week, the more it kind of irritates you, to be perfectly honest.
I have a love-hate relationship with Shark Week because it gets people talking about sharks, and I can take advantage of that increased conversation to talk about real things.
Actually, I used to love it. Like, it was one of my favorite things to watch when I was younger. And I thought all the specials were so cool, and it gets them tons and tons of viewers. I've learned that some of the stuff isn't exactly true, the way they're portraying it. They're focusing a lot on attacks rather than on the actual sharks.
Like, every third or fourth fact that they said was blatantly wrong. Like, how big this shark gets, how old this shark gets, how many species there are. These are not secrets, this information. A cursory Google check would have revealed that no, there are not 250 species of sharks, there's over 500. No, this species of shark does not live to be 300 years old. That's ridiculous.
We get this really funneled view of the entire world of sharks. There's over 500 species.
I was expecting just to say, like, oh, that's interesting, but it's actually not quite right, it's this. And it turned into some things that I cannot repeat in polite company here.
So this year, they outdid their, let's say, faking science and decided to kick off Shark Week with a big, huge documentary on Megalodon, the monster shark that lives.
I got pretty angry at some of the documentaries, particularly the Megalodon one.
There is absolutely no chance that Megalodon sharks are still out there right now swimming around. It's not true. It's not happening. But the way it was presented was like a documentary.
Have anybody on this panel been consulted by Discovery for Shark Week in the past? Anybody? No, nobody here.
The thing about Shark Week making stuff up and Animal Planet making stuff up that's literally offensive to me is when they make up a completely fictional story. What they're saying is, we don't think the real world is interesting enough that people will care.
If you look at the tracker right now, you could look at Lydia. Lydia is in Canada. If you go to ocearch.org. Mary Lee is on the beaches of the Carolinas.
I just downloaded it. I didn't know. I just downloaded it. It's awesome.
People now have something to talk about other than fear. So they now are saying, like, oh, why is Mary Lee in North Carolina? What is Mary Lee doing? Oh my gosh, at the same time Lydia's in Canada. And so we're shifting the tone of the conversation from one of fear to one of curiosity, one of appreciation of the role, and we're doing it at scale.
Thanks to the help of the public, we can sort of build a database of when we're seeing basking sharks in the area and how often we're seeing them. And if we could get more people involved with this, and if we can get even better and better photos, we can even start to distinguish, you know, are we seeing the same basking shark, or are we seeing different basking sharks out there? And that idea is really exciting.
We took last year over 1,000 high school students out on the boat with us to learn about the ocean and learn about ocean conservation and really help us with every step of our shark research.
So there's almost 18 research projects coming out of the Shark Wrangler series. When we went down there, that was a $5.4 million trip, and we put $2.7 million of it into the research and $2.7 million of it to make the show.
I always have a special place in my heart for the cookie cutter shark, just because it's so cute and so, like, nightmare terror-inducing. And they have this suction cup mouth and a circular thing of teeth. They attach to things like whales and dolphins and other sharks, and they just go and take out a plug of flesh.
The use that sharks have for their ampullae lorenzini, that's what they're using to sense electromagnetic fields, and it's pretty weak. It's really interesting, and it kind of explains why hammerheads look the way they do. By having that elongated head, they have a little bit more room for those ampullae lorenzini. They can sense more electromagnetic fields. You know, scientists have been looking into the fact that they might be using the electromagnetic fields on the ocean floor as a term of migration. So,
you know, if you go to the Global Shark Tracker and you start to overlay the different tracks of the sharks, they're all moving through the same corridors on the same paths at totally different times of year and even across different species.
In Baja California, there was a lot of talk about them congregating to these seamounts, hundreds. If you ever have a chance to look up and Google schools of hammerheads, they're very impressive. And they would hang out during the day, I believe it was during the day, and then they would take off during nighttime. And basically they were thinking that they're following these electromagnetic fields.
If you look in the Atlantic, you'll see that several of our sharks are using Bermuda, it seems like, as a navigational beacon, and they swing around the Atlantic and go from Florida up past Bermuda and into the Northeast, and then they'll turn around and they'll come south and take almost the exact same path. So when you start to like lay out the tracking for the first time and you start to see different sharks making the same journeys almost on the exact same lines across different species, to me it's just stunning.
It's clear that we have a lot of people out there who know a lot about sharks, who are really passionate, and who really want to get good information out. And I want to encourage anyone watching, if you had questions that didn't get answered, or you had something that didn't get said that you really want to say, tweet at me or anyone on this panel and tell us what you wanted.